Hello and welcome to episode 157 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the fourth cornetto flavor, Alessandro Balsi. Say hello, Al.
I'm not Judge Judy in execution.
So my favorite line on this week's episode, Wanda, Vision, an update on Jason Nesmith, and other news and nuggets, all before diving into our flick of the week, a favorite amongst the crew, Hot Fuzz. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
So, today is January 20th.
Sure it is.
You can embrace that for all that date signifies, like my cousin and his son's birthday, or other things.
Sure.
But it was snowing today. It was 30 degrees, and yet felt like a dawning of a new spring.
Sure
we're
did.
Drinking Harpoon Fresh Tracks, a bright floral hoppy spring pale ale. And this has 6.2% alcohol by volume, 38 IBUs. Unfortunately, it's only 12 fluid ounces. Up top here, it says, bright golden with citrus and pine notes, a clean, light, and ready for spring ale. Boy, are we ready for spring. Hibernation be damned. Get outside and make some fresh tracks. Hooray for spring. On the back here,
Hooray for spring. How old is this beer?
Probably 1 year. Would be my guess. Our brewery parking lot can be a pretty good indicator of the season. Some cars have ski racks, others are decked with bike racks, some even have both. Spring here keeps us on our toes, so we're always ready for anything.
Oh, it really sounded like you're about to go into something else after that.
Old man, what's his name, has been trimming other people's hedges. So, that's it. See, that's one of my favorite things from this movie. Just that delivery is so... And Jim Broadbent is perfect for it, and I mean, we'll get to it later, but it was just... that was totally organic. I didn't even set that up on purpose.
All right, Harpoon Fresh Tracks. Cheers. That was the nicest cheers we've had in a long time.
I just wish it was synced up. This smells delightful.
Interesting. It tastes very different than it smells.
Yes. It really doesn't taste what I was expecting it to taste like.
I feel like it tastes like what you said, but smells like something different.
Yeah, what did I say again?
Something about pine.
Bright golden with citrus and pine notes. A light
Pine nuts?
Clean light. No, pine notes. Not pine nuts.
Pinoles?
Can we make pinoli beer?
Wait, the first ever pinoli beer.
Wait, can we make a beer that tastes like pinoli cookies with like almond paste and pine nuts?
Yeah.
Is
that the next Al's Ale?
What's that?
Is that the next Al's Ale?
We could.
Al's Bakery Selects?
Jamming so much almond paste into the
beer. And we'll have Gianna and Kim make the cookies, and like it'll be a pairing situation.
I'm also thinking, though, we should just make the raw dough and not dry hop it, but dry dough it.
Interesting. What could happen? Worst beer ever.
Well, the thing is, almond paste actually probably has too much fat in it, and that's not a good thing. I don't know. I'd have to do a lot of research into this.
Yeah, I think this is gonna end up being like a teaspoon of almond extract and nothing else. and the burnt husks of some pinoles.
Yeah, I'm just gonna... Well, so a lot of times if you're gonna quote-unquote dry hop type thing or whatever, like if you're gonna add like something like that in for the flavor and aroma, you have to soak it in vodka.
Oh, interesting.
To sterilize it. Mm-hmm. Because the vodka won't actually add any taste.
Right.
And there's such a small amount of it that it only adds like a very small amount of alcohol.
Sure.
But it allows it to be safe. So like that's what like a lot of times like if it's like aged on like raspberry like preserve or something like that. Mm-hmm. If you see something like that in like a beer, a lot of times what they do is like take the raspberry like and then like puree it and then like soak it. They put it in like one of those like tea like bag type things.
Sure.
And like soak it in vodka. And then put that fluid into the beer.
So we put the pinoli beans in a raspberry beret, and then we soak that in vodka.
Wait, this is going to become a raspberry pinoli cookie beer? So decadent.
That's one word. I'm not sure what this beer tastes like.
I'm definitely getting some floral for sure, which is that what it says, bright floral hoppy. It's definitely bright.
Yeah.
There's some hop bitterness, but not an
Yeah.
overpowering amount of hop bitterness. I think it's a perfect amount for this because it's a pretty light beer. It smells super piney.
It does. I don't know. It smells like something specific that I've had before, like another beer that I've had. But I feel like the smell, the scent, and the taste are completely different in what I'm experiencing, at least.
Yeah, I keep fooling myself by smelling it and then tasting it and expecting it to taste somewhat like it smells, and it doesn't.
No,
they're both good. The taste and the smell are both good, but they're different.
Yeah, it's a little bit more bitter. Like not. I guess that's relative, right? Like it's whatever, but it's noticeably bitter, not in a bad way.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go 2 thuckles.
that sounds right to me.
Does that seem fair?
I was gonna say 1 thumb, and then I forgot that we're on the thuckle scale.
We are on the thuckle scale. You have to adjust accordingly. But not too shabby. Not my favorite. Not something that I'm running out to grab. But I'm not upset about it. I've been upset about certain things in the past. I'm not upset about this one. My feelings are less strong about this than they are about, say, the Phantom Thread.
Fair.
Cool. All right, Harpoon. I see you. I feel like Harpoon is good for 1 to 2 thuckles.
They're very consistent, and I have never really been actively disappointed by any of their beers that I can think of off the top of my head.
Right, but also I feel on the same page, not actively thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of their beers that if you drink them, it's oh yeah, definitely, but not something I'm blown away by.
Sure. Oh. Speaking of drinks and alcohol and booze and all the like, did you watch Outlander? We may have discussed this.
No, my brother and his girlfriend have watched most of it. I don't think you and me talked about it a couple weeks ago. I think.
Yeah,
they're in the most recent season, but I don't think they finished it yet.
Okay, Kim, a Christmas gift. My last Christmas gift came that Kim got me last week. It's been shipping for quite some time. It was on a boat at one point.
I'm still waiting for a birthday gift. My birthday is in the end of November.
Yes. Well, are you referring to the one that I'm talking about?
Oh no, actually, I was kind of
no. There's still a whole thing that I. Well, I was
I'm pretty sure it sounded like your plan for my birthday was actually a plan. It was some sort of event.
It is. It requires the world to be turned back on, though.
Yeah, it seemed that way.
It might be your 31st birthday.
I was surprised when you were saying it, I got to see if everyone can do this, and I was like,
"Is
that gonna work?"
Everyone is not a large number. Let's be very clear.
Well, I didn't expect it to be 30 people.
No. It'll be nice though when we get there.
No, but I'm pretty sure I'm still waiting on birthday gift from my sister. I think I'm still waiting on a Christmas gift from her from last year too.
Nice.
Yeah.
She's playing an interesting game there. It's great. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Anyway, this gift, it arrived. It was one of those things I forgot about. I was oh wait, I forgot. Kim said that another gift is coming, and it's her favorite one. And I was I still have this to look forward to. And then it came the next day.
That could be disappointing.
That's true. Until you open it up, and it's a scotch from the main character of Outlander.
Oh.
And it's called the Sassenach, which is the Outlander. And it is, not only is the bottle amazing, are the little writings on it fantastic, the enthusiasm that this guy has for the scotch is great. It's also delightful. And not in the Phantom Thread way.
Sorry, no. That's, to be clear, that's a delight.
That's right. Delightful. Okay, this is delightful. Yeah, it's full of it. And it's fantastic.
Is this a scotch that's official show scotch? And it's a character or it's the actor?
It's the actor.
Okay.
Yeah. But the name obviously is a tie-in, and
sure. I was just wondering if it was Game of Thrones sponsored some whiskeys with
sure.
distillers.
No, this is the actors,
that, or is it the actor?
The actor is behind it, and it is his whiskey. It's is it good? It is if it can last, which it won't last. I would say it would easily make an appearance at this year's Flix and a Whisk. However, I don't know that that's happening. I know that we have our own plan for that, but there's not gonna be an Academy Awards, right?
Well, they did it last year.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, but this year is all movies that came out in 2020.
Yeah, so like, it's funny because in the last couple of weeks I've been seeing a bunch of stuff. I was like, I have not heard of any of these movies that are up for like, everyone's like, oh, this is going to be for Best Picture. I was like, I've never even heard of that before.
Yeah. Well, if that does happen, and it happens in February, there might be a chance that the Sassenach makes an appearance, but there's a good chance that it'll be long gone by then.
I got to work on getting this vaccine soon so we can do that together, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to have the whiskey. So
Fair. Wait, you can't have the whiskey. Oh, because you won't be here. Got it.
Correct.
I was like, I don't understand. Wait, what vaccine are you talking about?
You know, the one that allows you to just like pour the whiskey into your computer
whiskey.
and it shows up on my side.
Amazing. Yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that.
That's fine. You just take the whiskey and you put it out on the line.
Oh, and then and then if we get that, maybe we can make your birthday happen.
Oh,
but it still might be worth the wait a little bit longer until things are a little bit more back to normal, if that does happen at some point. Anyway, what do you say we get into some news and nuggets?
Okay.
Although I feel like that was kind of a nugget.
Sure.
Masquerading around as something under the beer section of this.
It was like a cold open to the news and nuggets.
That's right. I didn't know where I want to start. Sorry, I have one that I want to start with. I'm ready now.
Okay.
It's a big one. You ready for this?
Yeah.
It's not really a big one. It's big for us. It's big for you and me personally.
Oh.
I'm going to read you a little something. This comes from Wirebuzz.
Is this a reading? Or
It's no, I'm not a huge fan of the long reading. This is more just a blurb from an interview.
Okay.
A blurb from an interview on a website that may or may not have conducted the interview, but probably just reported on an interview that happened. You know how that is? You know how you don't know where anything comes from anymore?
Yeah.
So anyway, what I'm reading from is from Sci-Fi Wire. And the person credited is Josh Weiss. And it is an interview with Tim Allen. And it is about the Galaxy Quest sequel script.
What?
Okay. And talking about how it was fabulous, but it was all... This is the prelude to the actual quote that I'm going to read. But it had a lot to do with Alan Rickman's character. And it's unfortunate that they would have to... It wouldn't obviously be able to play out the same way. Anyway, he says... So it all got very sad and dark because the script was all about Lazarus and Taggart. It was all about their story. It doesn't mean they can't reboot the idea, and the underlying story was hysterical and fun. Alan continued, I haven't reached out to anybody in the last week, but we talk about it all the time. There is constantly a little flicker of butane torch that we could reboot it with. Without giving too much away, a member of Alan's Galaxy Quest family could step in and the idea would still work. So it sounds like they have something that's fun and that they're excited about, and that in itself makes me happy. And I'm like, I would be totally fine with never seeing a new Galaxy Quest. It was never even on my radar. But if you want to bring something like that back because you're excited about it, not for the cash grab, that excites me.
It would be kind of meta too, right? Like, this whole idea of Galaxy Quest is washed. It's 20 years later. But the whole movie was about actors from a show that were washed that was like 20 years later.
Yeah, it's almost like the Jay and Silent Bob reboot of the
kind
of the same story. But I mean, as the fans know, we're huge fans of Galaxy Quest. It feels like a top 10 movie, even though if I were to actually sit down and make a list, it wouldn't probably make it.
No, but I do very much enjoy that movie.
It's a fantastic movie. I was so tickled by this. I was like, oh, another one. But then I immediately had, I started reading it. I got really excited. And then before reading the next paragraph, I was like, oh, wait a minute, Alan Rickman. And that's when he goes into, but Alan Rickman. And I was like, no. And then I was like, maybe we should just do Galaxy Quest again. We haven't had a repeat movie.
Well, it was touch and go for a minute. We were worried that this one was what we had done.
We have talked about Hot Fuzz so much that
I had to literally go back and scroll through every single episode, which is now up to, what this is, 157, 158, whatever it is.
Yeah, 157.
We're getting really close to 4 years of this show, which is funny
right.
Because just now we've passed the threshold of, by number, 3 years of the show.
That's right. That's right. We're the fourth year of the show at 157 episodes. It's a weekly show. Don't at me.
Now, to be fair, there's a handful of episodes in there that are like part 1, part 2, part 3. There's a handful of episodes that are in there that are untitled and don't stick to the convention, but that only accounts for like 6 episodes.
I just love the way it started. We're going to do 3 movies.
In
3 beers. Yeah. No.
Well, we did the 3 beers plus a few more beers. We did the 3 movies, but it was like 3.5 hours.
We did the 9 beers that one time. 9 beers, no movie.
Technically.
Oh, man. I doubt that we'll be doing 9 movies, no beer, though. It's probably not going to happen.
It would take us about the same amount of time it took us to do the extended Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Anyway, that was just a nugget for you. I thought you'd be excited about that. I don't know, like, I'm not confident that it'll actually become something, but the idea and that they're excited about it is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could. It's not something that you're not going to. I don't think you're going to damage the movie or the script of the former flick by making a sequel. It's fine if you do another one. I don't think there's anything to really worry about.
Yeah, I mean, because that one is really, truly like a cult classic. Like, I wouldn't say it's like a super, super popular movie, and it doesn't have like an expanded universe that like you're betraying like a whole bunch of like diehard and like less diehard fans or whatever.
Right. As long as you bring back Tony, I'm good.
He's a scene stealer.
He really is. He's like, yeah, I got an idea. Anyway, why don't we dive into what we're watching?
Okay.
I think this is probably the longest segment of News and Nuggets. I'm going to start off because there's something that we're both watching together, which is great. And I don't know that it's necessarily going to qualify for a man to watch style situation.
That's what I was thinking about too, and I was like, I think we could probably just check up on it when we in whether it be every week or every other week or every couple.
That's true. Weeks. Anytime we have something to say about it.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I have been on a hot streak with Apple TV shows. I talked about this a little bit on Game Bites yesterday. Actually, yes. No, I didn't. I talked about it before we recorded, so it's nowhere to be found.
It's somewhere in the Lost Archives.
That's right. But
bring up the historical documents.
I watched Little Voice. Fantastic. I watched Ted Lasso. Maybe one of the best television shows I've seen. I watched Trying, which was a hidden gem. And also Trying was starring one of the Andys, which was just great and worked out perfectly with what we're doing today. Because we were watching it, we watched Trying, and then Kim and I were starting to watch Hot Fuzz. It was late, though. She ended up falling asleep, but she liked it. She'll have to go back to it at some point. But she's like, who is that? I was like, it's the guy. It's the guy from the show we just watched. Oh, yeah.
Wait, which Andy was it?
Oh, I was about to say the one with the mustache.
You've got a mustache.
I know. The one with less of a mustache.
The younger one.
I don't know.
The one who seems to be the second in command.
Weirdly, I think this is accurate for the entire movie. The one on the left.
He's on the left a lot. Well, it's funny because the one on the right, I believe, was in The World's End. He gets like boosted up to being one of the main crew.
Okay.
Because actually, you never saw that one, did you? The World's
No.
End. So like they usually just like the two of them, or maybe it's the two of them and they expand it to like a full blown like crew. It's
okay.
Two of them, Eddie Marsan, Martin Freeman, and then I'm pretty sure Patty Considine, who is one of the Andy. The other Andy, who is I think the one you're talking about, the one on the left, is the villain in the Jurassic World sequel.
Yes.
Which is funny for me making that realization when we were watching that movie. Looking him up, I was like, well, this guy's so familiar. I was like, oh my god, he's one of the Andys.
Yeah. But anyway, and now I am, we're almost done with the morning show, which is, it's Apple TV's Newsroom. Like, it's not Newsroom, but it actually, the episode that we just watched was probably a pretty strong parallel to the Fix You episode It was really, really good. Like, just incredible execution. So I do think that it's worth somehow you getting your hands on these stories, because I think you'd really enjoy them. But anyway, like I said, I'm 4 shows in, not a single miss so far.
Really?
And I've been like blown away. And like they're quick. They're like 8 to 10 episodes, it seems like, per season. And it's like really nice full story so far in each of the seasons of television that I've watched on it, that I've like really like it's just really like solid writing. Now I realize that these are series that they pitched to this concept with, right? So they kind of had to be great.
Well, the morning show was definitely one of their like 4 horsemen when they were coming out of the box. The other ones, there was the Jason Momoa show that, from what I understand, flopped.
I didn't see it. Yeah, I didn't watch Seeing or something like that, I think it's called.
Yeah, everyone's blind in the show, except for, I think, like one character or something like that. And I forgot what the other 2 shows were, so...
Yeah, like For All Mankind, I think, is one.
Yes,
and
then
one.
I heard
Mythic
that wasn't
Quest
that great either.
Is supposed to be fun.
Mythic Quest is supposed to be fun from what I've heard, and it's like continuing on. And I think it's got like a tight-knit viewership. I don't think it's a very expansive viewership.
The only person that I know that has watched it has like been like, why haven't you watched it yet? So it seems like it might be worth my time.
It's interesting because it's, what's his name? It's
McElhenney.
Mac, yeah.
McElhenney? McElhenney?
Yeah, Rob McElhenney.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was
Messenger? Anyway, so that's I've been watching a lot of that. I'm almost done with the morning show. That's 4 shows. I might end up burning through whatever else is on there because so far so good. Next up, new show, first MCU Disney Plus show. WandaVision has dropped the first 2 episodes. By the time you're hearing this, the 3rd episode is out as well.
Which we've been waiting on for how long now? Because it felt like that show was supposed to come out like a year ago.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do know that the entirety of knowing about the show, watching the trailer, reading things about it, I've been like, what am I getting myself into? Am I going to enjoy this? Is this going to be even good? And then then I have to backpedal for a second and be like, look, they haven't disappointed you yet. And
yeah,
I mean,
that's
the first
kind
episode.
of why I ultimately gave it a shot when I did.
Sure.
Like, I was going to probably get to it eventually or whatever, and I was just like, you know what? I'm watching it, you know? Because for me, I feel like we've been kind of on the same page on this. Like, when I first announced it, I was like, why? And then they announced the name of the show, and I was like, why?
Right.
And then they put out the first trailer, and I was like, why?
And then you watched the first episode, and you went, all right.
Well, no, so like they were playing very close to the vest, which I understand because they want a certain amount of mystique to this when they're
100%.
Mystique's not in it because X-Men is only just being joined up with Disney and all that. But
fair.
You know, they were very secretive with. I was just gonna let it go.
Yeah,
they were being very secretive with it, but then they released a little bit more info in the trailers, and I was like, oh, that looks weird, and I was like, I don't know if I like that. But then I thought about it some more, and I was like, don't really care about either of these characters, not really. And this seems to be kind of the ultimate navel gazing, considering like Vision seems to be fully dead in the MCU, and like we're still trying to figure out what Wanda's about, and they totally just threw that romance at us like out of nowhere and all that, and I was like, huh?
Yeah, so it was like, oh, you know what we're going to do? We're not entirely sure, so let's give you a romantic interest, and you know what? Lose the accent. Just take it
Dude, the accent thing is weird. But I think it was just because it was how bad it was when she was doing it in Ultron. But yeah, I was like, you know what? If you were ever going to get me interested in the show, it being weird as fuck might be the only way to do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that... I think I was rewarded for giving it that shot in that regard because it is weird as fuck, and I like it. It's probably really the only reason I do like it because otherwise I don't.
Same, yeah. I'm really enjoying it as well, and I think the reason that I'm like I was enjoying the first episode because of how true they were sticking to what they were doing. Yes. I was like, oh, like this really feels like. I mean, like I watched a lot of I Love Lucy when I was younger. Like this feels great. I Dream of Jeannie, like a mishmash of both of those things, and then
it's all of those shows. It's every one of those shows.
Yeah, and like just when it was getting to the point of being like, okay, I get it. Like, but then, and I was starting to worry. I was like, oh, is this only going to work for one episode? And then it got creepy. And I was like,
Yes.
ooh, that's a fun turn.
Yeah, I wondered about that myself as I was watching the first 10 minutes or so of it, where I was like, okay, we get it. Like 1950s, 60s, like sitcom mishmashed with like present day sensibilities of like superhero movies. That's like a funny like thing. Like it's a combo that doesn't make sense. So like, but that shtick only works for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets super surreal and honestly super dark for moments. And I was like, oh, okay. Like if we could flip the switch from this is just like slapstick humor to weird, like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go right back to everything's totally fine, and then it's gonna get super dark. And it's like, okay, yeah, no, I can buckle up for this.
100%. And to their credit, they absolutely nailed it, because by the end of the episode, like by the end of the 2 episodes, I was like, I can't wait till next week.
Yeah. I could not believe that that's how I felt as well. That's why I felt compelled. I wrote about it in the Spin Tune this week.
Yeah.
I was like, this is weird and fun, and I like it. I don't know. Like, I didn't expect this to ever happen, because I have no regard for those characters. I really had no regard for the show. I thought it was interesting that they chose to, in the idea of like, they kind of have like a smorgasbord of all of those old shows. But each episode so far has actually really directly paid homage to like a specific show. The first show was very Dick Van Dyke Show. And then the second one was very Bewitched.
Right.
And so now I'm kind of curious, like even on its own, like, well, what's the next week? Is it going to be I Love Lucy? Is it going to be Mr. Ed? I don't like what is it going to be? Like Honeymooners? Whatever.
Honeymooners is coming at some point or another. What is the actress's name? She's fantastic. The neighbor.
Oh, Catherine Hahn.
She's so funny. Everything she's in, she cracks me up. Even when she's like, she wasn't playing an overly comedic role, but it is the intention that she was like the humorous friend next door, which is a character that is in all of those shows. But she is nailing it to some ridiculousness of like, it is so true to form for that character, but also modern enough to let her do her thing.
Also, what's perfect about it is she's playing some of it so over the top, because they might as well, like, her name is Agnes, but they may have just named her Red Herring, because and like she's just owning that, like she's just gonna be the magician's assistant, which, you know, we see that in, not with her specifically, but we see that in the second episode, right, with Vision and Wanda being a magician, and although Vision becomes Illusion.
Oh yeah,
it was a great stage name for her, but like she is literally doing all of like the jazz hands over here to not what's going on, and it's like, I see what's going on.
Yeah, but what's crazy about the whole thing is like, and by the end of both of the episodes, and even like halfway through, like I start to think about when it allows your mind to wander a bit, because it does. I think it actually intentionally drops a bit in the episode to let you think about it for a minute of like where we're at with these actual characters. It's like we don't actually know where this is taking place. We have an assumption, right? And the idea, obviously, we talked about this a little bit, but it's that like, either she's in some self-preserving state of keeping Vision alive in her own mind, like Inception style, doing it to herself, or
which there's an aspect of that we see in the second episode,
right? Or like or whether like she has passed out or something like that, or like or she's been put in, or maybe there's some tests being run.
Which the like pre-credits clip of the first episode would seem to indicate. That's
right, and it's really interesting, and I think what's awesome about it too is there's a long credit scene, right? In both episodes, the credits are very long, and it's like, why, right? But there is one thing to note about those credits, and that is very Quantum Realm.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, so what's the next step of it? Like, there's clearly, I feel like the credit scene is a hint of where they're gonna take it at the very end, but like, but that's not where it is now. And I feel like what it's gonna, I feel like it'll probably come down to some sort of thing, like tapping into the multiverse a bit at some point towards the end of maybe like finding a way for like Vision to come back into the fold as a character that is alive and well.
Well, that would make sense, because the new Doctor Strange movie is the Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Wanda is a part of that.
I think so.
And so that would make a lot of sense.
So this will potentially be like, so if anybody else is going to show up, there's a chance that it would probably be him, right? Like by the end of finale
Even if it's just a quick
episode
cameo for 2 seconds.
Yeah, like your Baby Yoda of
Yes.
of the series, but like happening at the end of the season versus like the end of the first episode. I'm in, man. I'm all in.
Yeah, I never thought that was going to be the case. I believe I ranked it 8 lobster door knockers out of 10 terrible illusions. My grade for the first 2 episodes.
Perfect.
My other kind of quick thoughts on it was the low-key like MVP so far, the scene stealer, was the boss's wife at dinner when he's choking.
Yeah.
She was fantastic. Stop that. Stop that.
Yeah.
And just watching her break down while trying to keep the facade up was incredible, actually. Like, some of the darkest shit I've seen in a minute, actually.
Super creepy.
And also, I never expected Paul Bettany to be incredible at like slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
Like, that just seemed so out of character for him, and I was like, wow.
There's something that every time I think about him like and being funny, I remember this stupid clip. I forget which late night show it was on. I think it might have been Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, one of the two. It could have been any of them, really. It doesn't really matter. But like they had a handful of cast members on from Avengers, and who's the actor that plays Loki?
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston. He was on it, and the interviewer was like, "There's a lot of English folks on the show, or in the movies," and he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, 4 of us, 5 if you count Paul." And he goes, "Wait, what?" And like it seemed like it was like a very silly like style of his humor of like making the correction as a joke, like remembering there was somebody else. But just the way that played out, it's a dumb joke, but for whatever reason, I think about that a couple of times a week for some reason, and I just think it's so funny.
That's a weird frequency to think about. That's very specific.
Yeah, I don't know why. I have no idea why. Maybe I'm seeing Paul Bettany a lot.
Who?
Paul Bettany.
Sorry, I think you said Bentley. I was like, who's Paul Bentley?
Oh no, Paul the car. No, I don't know. Maybe it's probably because he's been like showing up in like a lot of things that like posts and stuff like that, reading about WandaVision and things like that. That's why the frequency at which is coming into my mind.
Fair enough.
If I could find the clip, I'll send it to you. It's fantastic.
I just feel like he always plays very dry, like straight man type, like even borderline monotone at times, like characters. To see him doing this big comedic performance has been funny for me. I don't know.
Yeah, he's in what's A Knight's Tale, right?
I've seen little bits of it. I've never actually seen it.
I love that movie. Why have we not done that yet?
My brother really likes that movie. I've never really got around to it.
All right, it'll be coming up. I love that movie.
So the only thing is like I've really seen him in were Da Vinci Code, and does he even have any lines in that movie? He's just like a menacing presence for most of the movie. There's definitely something else I saw him in too, and I can't think of what it was now.
Yeah, he's been in a decent amount of things. Look them up real quick while you talk about The Expanse.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to need your participation a little bit, so I'll set the stage while you're looking up Paul Bettany.
All right, ready? Master and Commander, A Knight's Tale, Margin Call, A Beautiful Mind, WandaVision, Uncle Frank, Solo.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, he was in Avengers. Sorry, I had to. It's brewed with heart. It really is.
It's funny because he is a little bit big. He does have like kind of a big performance in Solo, but I wouldn't really say it's like an overtly like comedic performance. Like there's a couple of one-liners, but like it's mostly just like over the top British villain in that.
Sure.
Yes. No.
Oh, I said sure.
Anyway, The Expanse. So, I've been watching the new season of The Expanse. I did not get a chance to watch today's episode yet, but I was thinking about it some because last week, and I'll avoid spoilers because, well, not to say necessarily, although I think you would enjoy the show, but whether or not you're going to be getting to it's kind of irrelevant. But in case anyone else has any interest or hasn't caught up with this season, I don't want to spoil anything. So a character is introduced this season, very secondary character, but this character has a history with one of the main characters from like prior to the events of the show. So, it's one of those classic characters that's introduced more to give backstory than anything, right?
Yeah.
And this character gets a lot of screen time just because of the nature of used to draw out exposition about the backstory of some of the other major players in this story, right? So that character died last week on the show. Okay. And this part of it, I think you'll find interesting because you just finished The Sopranos. And I was like, I texted my brother's friend, Brian, who actually, I don't know if he's listened to us anytime recently, but he used to listen to our show a lot because he used to drive to and from Buffalo for school. So long drives, he'd knock out like 5 or 6 episodes on the way to and from school.
Sometimes 5/6 of an episode, depending on if we're on a roll or not.
Listen. But so he was the one who actually got me start watching The Expanse. So he's the only person I know who watched it, so I talked to it. And I was like, I think this character might be the most useless character I've seen on television in quite some time, like non-AJ Soprano, which that's the part where you'll finally be able to engage with my point about, I think AJ Soprano might be the most useless character in all of television history.
Yeah, I remember you talking about him like this back when you were watching it, and then bringing it up a few times while I was watching it. I don't know that he's any more useless than a lot of other characters.
I just meant for like the ratio of the amount of total screen time he gets. Mm-hmm. He doesn't ever really have a purpose on the show.
He has as much of a purpose as any other garbage character.
No, I mean like because other people have storylines that go places. Or...
I think his does. He grows up in. I think Kim might agree with me. I found that he was probably one of the characters that I was actually interested in.
See, I wasn't more interested in Meadow because she had storylines that mattered. Whether it be directly or because of how they tipped off other characters' storylines, whatever, right? Because the whole thing where she dating Jackie Jr. That was super important with Tony. There was, her college search, which, ends up being important for reasons, right? There's her boyfriend that leads to the end game of all of this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When she was on screen, I'm not saying she was the greatest character, but there was at least occasionally times where I was interested in what's going on with the character. With AJ, I never cared. None of it mattered. He just annoyed me. I just felt like a underwritten character. The best argument against what I'm saying is I suppose he's supposed to be some sort of foil for Tony to show how terrible of a father he is, but even that's not really enough because after a while that idea kind of gets beaten to death, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Really the very light final storyline he has in the final season where he fails at killing himself, that might be the only interesting that happens with the character in the whole show.
Well, that particular thing, though, is the entirety of his character across all of the seasons, build up.
Yeah, but that's a lot of build up for not enough payoff.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with this because I'm defending a character on a show that I absolutely despise. But I actually thought that his storyline was interesting. Maybe
it felt like that was a 1-season storyline, though, and it was 7.
But I think it helped. The only thing that helps about that was imagine what you're seeing is him coming to terms with what's going on in his family over time, right? It takes him a long he is blind to it for longer than he should be.
Yeah, but the point is over the course of time though, he sees how it affects his mother, his sister, his wife, his daughter. It takes him until the final season to see how it affects his son?
I think so, because he's largely treating his son the way that he's treating him like you would treat a member of the crew, right? Where you're not, all of your emotions and feelings are invalid. It's showing you that he's learned nothing from going to his therapy sessions for the entire 8 seasons because he doesn't change at all. And he's actually a psycho. And I feel like that it hints at that by showing you that his son is actually 1-to-1 in a lot of cases experiencing the things that he has or is going through currently, and he doesn't see it because he's so wrapped up in his own shit. And I think that's actually the purpose of the character.
I mean, you are correct to me, I just didn't think they did enough good. I didn't think they did a good enough job displaying it. Is I guess what I'm saying. I thought it was like because like there are elements of that for sure. You're right, but like it's just kind of like, well, that was nice, and then like just walk away. You know what I mean? Like
I will say they don't carry it through ever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it just never feels like they fully flesh it out.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, I think that's fair. I felt that way about a lot of things that happened in the show, but I totally see where you're coming from with his character in particular.
Regardless, we got off on a little bit of tangent, but I like that conversation. That was good. But I want to bring it back to The Expanse because
was this all about you getting me to a situation where I defend something about The Sopranos because I fell for it and I don't like it.
No, it wasn't worth it if what I got was you defending AJ.
Okay, so we can both agree to never talk about that show ever again.
I mean, I'm sure it'll come up at some point.
I'm sure it will.
Anyway, so I was like, wow, this character is truly useless. Just how it all went when the character died.
Okay.
So it got me thinking, though. I was like, okay, because in that scene, the important character that this person was attached to, and I've been trying not to use any names or genders or anything because I don't want to spoil that for anyone if they haven't gotten there yet. Mm-hmm. The last week's episode ended on a cliffhanger, and that person I thought was going to die. One of the main characters, someone who's been one of the main characters since the first season. I was like, oh shit. So I don't know how to feel about this. Now, it seemed like the cliffhanger left that person actually probably survived. Like I said, I didn't get to watch this week's episode yet, but I imagine the person survived. But for a second, it really looked like the person was going to die. And I was like, oh, wow. This would be the first time like an actually important character died in a few seasons. Because there is one main character who dies in the first season. There's a couple other people who are important who die over the run of the show. Some people who kind of elevate to like not quite main characters, but more than a secondary character who have died over the course of the show.
Okay.
So I was thinking about it though. I was like, man, I don't know how to feel if this person dies. And like, it seemed like they didn't. I was like, okay, so I guess I can punt that decision. Like I can punt that like thought process further down the line if that person can survive. And I was thinking about it. I don't think I would actually care that much if any of the main characters died. And then I came to the shocking conclusion. I really like this show, but I don't really like any of the main characters. Like, I don't hate it.
That's kind of funny.
I don't hate any of them, but I don't have a favorite character of the main crew. Now, that's not totally fair because it's not Game of Thrones-esque in like how many people are in it. Like, there's like, it can be hard to draw a cutoff as to where the end of like the main characters are. Because I think most people kind of define it as the crew of the Rocinante, which is 4 characters. It's Amos, it's Holden, it's Naomi, and it's Alex. Mm-hmm. But then also in the first season, there's like another character who's like totally on the side, but they're in every episode and they're super important to the events. And it's Shora Dashley. You know her. She's a older actress. She's an Iranian actress. She's been in a lot of like sci-fi stuff, whatever. You would recognize her if you saw her. You'd recognize her voice if you heard it.
I feel like I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Now, she might actually be my favorite character on the show. And I would consider her a main character, but she's not part of the 4 on the ship. And they've added also another main character who joined in the second season, has been one of the main characters since then. And she tends to often be off to the side of the main events as well, though she crisscrosses with the Shora Dashley character and the main core group often, but a lot of times she's physically separated from all.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I actually kind of actively dislike her at times, but that has more, unfortunately, to do with the actress has one of the most obnoxious accents I've ever heard in my life. It's not her fault. This is the first like main thing she's ever been in. She's actually a decent actress. I just can't stand her voice. Okay. And it's purely because of her New Zealand accent. It's like the most aggressive accent I've heard in a while. And I was like, there was a couple of times where I was like, that's how they pronounce that word? That's how they pronounce that word in English. Okay, fair enough. But like other than that, the character's fun. I actually like the character, and I don't have any problem with the performance. It's just her voice, and there's nothing she can do about that. So like I've made my peace with it. It's okay. But I was thinking about it, I was like, it's super weird. If I had to like make a list of the 3, like not like like one off of the character, my 3 like favorite characters from that show, none of them are the main crew. Mm-hmm. And I realized part of why I love the show is I think they do tremendous storylines, and acting actually overall is pretty good, which surprised me for a show that started on Sci-Fi and now is on. And some of the production value is pretty good. It's gotten better as time's gone on, as the budget's gotten bigger and all that. I really like the interplay between the main characters. I really like what they bring out of each other from both a story and an acting perspective. But I don't actually care that much about any one character.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's a weird phenomenon to me, like coming to grips with that. I'm just wondering how you feel about that. Like if you like think about it, has there ever been a time where you've had something?
I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think if there's something where I've felt that way. And I wouldn't say that I can't pinpoint a situation where it was that I didn't really care for any of the characters, but where I can experience, like, I feel like there's been times where like no character in particular stands out, but not that I'm like more like about them. So what I'm curious about is like, it seems like the writing of the show, they're very good at, it seems like set pieces and storytelling, but they're not good at writing characters, or are the characters that they have written intentionally playing out in a situation where you don't really care for them?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't hate any of them, and I just don't love any of them. And it's not like they're all like super shallow. Like they've all had chances to like have development and like feel like real people, like with like real motivations and all that. In like 3-dimensional. Like there's one character that's not really, but like whatever, you know, not everyone's perfect. But the other 3 I feel like are all pretty well written as far as being like well-rounded characters. For whatever reason, yeah, I just can't. I realized, like, I was like, if any of them died, I don't think I would ever be like, oh god, I'm going to lose that character. Like, it's more going to be, well, how does that affect the story, or how does that affect the rest of the crew? You know what I mean? Like that would be like how, like, this would change the dynamic. Like, I just don't want to lose any of them more because the dynamic of them ends up being really interesting, and all the other tendrils that they send out to the secondary and tertiary characters, like their interactions with those people, I find to be interesting, and they drive the plot and they drive the world building because it's an incredible amount of world building. It's really detailed, like in the way that Game of Thrones was early on in the show.
Sure. And has it always been like that on the show? Is it something that you're just picking up on now, or has it become that way?
Well, no, I think what I'm realizing is that now that the show has reached their halfway through the 5th season, and the 6th season will be the final season, and I had a brush with death with one of the main characters for the first time in a long time, like in a way that felt real. Like there's been times where one or more of them have felt like they're in danger, but you always felt like there was going to be a way that they got out of it. This time, it felt like there was no way out of it, and they did. And like it was real. Like it didn't feel like cheap. Like it didn't feel like plot armor. Sure. Like it felt that part. Like I didn't feel betrayed by that in any way. But that just made me for the first time realize, like, oh wow, what would I do if that character died? And I was like,
yeah. Well,
which was weird to me. For like, I've never felt that way about a show that I really genuinely enjoy. Like, there's shows that you kind of half-ass watch, or for like you don't like The Sopranos,
right?
Like you hated all those characters, but you didn't like the show. Like, so whatever.
Exactly. See, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, I can't think of a situation where I really enjoyed the show, even though I didn't like any of the characters. And I will say that I guess the closest thing is the latter seasons, and by latter I mean like of everything, probably like from the 4th season on of The Walking Dead, where like I enjoy the situations, but at that point, but even that though, like I feel like it's a little bit different because even that there were huge.
You liked all the characters and didn't like the show.
Yeah, like okay, maybe that's what it is. But I also didn't like the way that they were portraying them. So like I feel like it's like a mix of the Sopranos situation and your situation that you're talking about. But I haven't experienced that where it's like I don't actually care about the characters. That is interesting.
I was racking my brain. I was like, have I ever? How is this even possible? Like, I feel like that means I don't like the show. And I was like, no, I definitely like the show. I'm not watching it to go through emotions. I genuinely want to see what happens every week. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I get joy out of watching the show. And now, like, there are a bunch of secondary and tertiary characters, or even like those handful of characters that I feel like kind of exist between like the main characters and the secondary characters. There's a bunch of those characters I really actively enjoy. And there's a bunch of characters that I hate, or I'm like, but like, it's weird. Like what's weird to me is like it's not even like I hate any of the main characters. I just kind of nothing them. Like
you just don't care.
They're there. They're important to the story, and if one of them's missing,
I got it.
Okay.
I feel that way about Gotham.
So I never watched the show. So
I enjoy the storytelling. I like the cool twist of the villains that you know in a time before Batman, and Jim Gordon being the person that's like dealing with it. That concept is great. I don't particularly love any character that is a main character. I absolutely love one character who is not. This is the guy that plays Victor Zsasz. I think he's fantastic. He also plays a villain in what's that show? That with Jason Bateman that everybody loves, Ozark.
Okay.
He's great, but he's Zsasz. He's not a main character, but like, yeah, I don't really. If any character along in the series were to be taken out, I wouldn't really care so much.
Yeah.
But I still, and that's actually kind of helped. Prevented me from going back to it. Like, I haven't finished it because I was getting a little bit blah on the characters, but the storylines I did enjoy. So there's that. At least it's something similar.
Yeah, that's at least in like the area code of what I'm saying. Yeah, I just thought it was so weird. I was like, wow, I like, because it would be different if and there's villains and there's like lesser character whatever that like I actively hate. But, like they're good villains or whatever. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, I hate like. Because of the person you are, but like that's a good character. So like I care what happens one way or the other with that person. You know what I mean? With like
right.
I want to see that person defeated, or if sometimes there's really great villains where it's like, oh wow, what are they going to cook up next? You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
But like I care about that character in some way. It's so weird to me about the four main characters. Like I truly like I don't hate them. I don't love them. I just kind of like they're there. Like they are. It's like the wheels on your car, you know, like you need them to keep going, you know?
Yeah.
I guess I will have to deal with what this looks like because one of those four characters will be off the show after the season due to the actors' indiscretions, of which there were apparently many gross. So,
Cannibal?
No, thankfully not. But it seems like rampant abuse and sexual abuse.
Ugh.
Type of allegations, like a lot of them. So,
isn't that lovely?
No, it's not.
Ugh. Oh.
Now, I will say of the four characters, he's the one I even cared the least about. So that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Silver lining of some sort.
Yeah.
Ugh. That's a weird note to end on. Anyway,
sorry.
What? Do you have any other news and nuggets?
No, I think that's it.
All right, then I think it's time for fun and games. What do you say?
Okay.
On this week's Fun and Games, we have a very well-suited quiz.
Okay.
Al, which Hot Fuzz character are you? Let's start. You walk into a hotel and get called a fascist. What do? Run away, roll your eyes and walk away slowly, reply with hag, say, how dare you?
Hag, for sure.
But only because you've seen the movie. Yes, there is a swan on the road. What do? Swerve and carry on, pick it up and drive on.
Swerve.
Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite color? Black, pink, red, blue, gray, or white?
Does it come in black?
Nice. What is your favorite film/TV show? Run, Fat Boy, Run, Spaced, Hyperdrive, The World's End, Paul, or Shaun of the Dead?
They really went with all Simon Pegg, Edgar Wright, Nick Frost things.
Yep.
I'll go with Shaun of the Dead.
Okay. What animal are you most like? A fox, tiger cub, Alsatian?
I don't know what that is.
A monkey, a king cobra, or a kitten?
I have no idea.
The monkeys are particularly cute in this picture.
Sure, let's go with monkeys, I guess.
Okay. You're a police chief investigator and have to hire a new officer. What do you look for in a new recruit? Ability to buy ice cream? Will do anything you ask? Someone willing to watch a movie with you? A lot of sarcasm? A sense of humor? Knowledge of police vocab guidelines? It's pretty great.
God. Let's go with the one, watch a movie.
Okay.
It's a movie podcast, why not?
How do your friends describe you? Funny and a little rude, a little bit scary and quite evil, focused but a bit mad at times.
I guess the first one?
Okay. Where would you like to retire? I'm just going to pick an isolated beach. What do you do? Would you do anything to Would you do anything to save your best friend? Yes or no?
Sure.
That wasn't very convincing. When you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up? Police officer, comedian, happy, shop manager.
I don't know. I guess I'm going with happy because I didn't necessarily want to be any of the other things. So
fair. All right, we're calculating your result. This is fantastic. This is the best that it could have been. You didn't get one character. You got the Andes. You are funny and rude, but at the end of the day, you are happy to help your friends. You're sarcastic and don't take anything seriously until you really have to.
Some of that's true.
I like that. I also, the scene that they're using, which is a great Andes scene, and I can confirm, the guy I'm talking about is always on the left. But it's the one where they are full frame and it's behind Simon Pegg's head, and
that's when they like storm off and then he like comes back into the frame, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
It's right in front of George Merchant's house after it blows up.
Yep, so good. Well, that was fun and games. With that, why don't we get into our flick of the week? Hot Fuzz, released in 2007, rated R with a 2-hour and 1-minute runtime. Your IMDb synopsis. A skilled London police officer is transferred to a small town with a dark secret. I like the way they buried the lead on that. That's good. It's pretty great. Let's kick it off. What's your give me your tweet length.
I didn't think this was a perfect movie, but then I couldn't find a single reason why it wasn't. 10 out of 10, motherfuckers.
Oh man. We're in an interesting position here, my friend. An incredibly well-made film masquerading around as a goofball buddy comedy. Hot Fuzz blurs the line between art and pure entertainment. 10 out of 10.
Fuck yes.
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize, like, I know that I liked the movie until I rewatched it and was like really focused, because I know that I watched it a long time ago. Then I watched it a few more times in between, but like not like fully paying attention. Like I had it on doing things, right? This was the first time in a while that I sat down and rewatched the movie.
Like, and distraction free, start to finish, all that.
So funny. And it's a good story. And it does a lot of things. Like it takes on a lot of the different things that individual movies will try to take on, right? It does straight up comedy, nails it. Buddy comedy, nails it. Solid writing, nails it. Character study, nails it. Like I don't like they did everything in the one film.
Also, what's I think most incredible about this one, especially when you compare it against the other Edgar Wright ones, is there is this poetry in how the script unfolds. This call and response that happens where they set up so many things, and some of them are stupid little one-offs, some of them are background, some of them are laugh lines, like delivered for the punchline right then and there. And then those things all come back, and it creates this symmetry within the movie that's really elegant.
Well, that's what's special about that is it is
and it takes a few times like watching it to catch all of them.
Sure. But what that is, any standout comedy routine, like a really good stand-up, the ones that you remember, they land a lot of great jokes early on, and they make a callback to one that's maybe not that important, but they call it back. And the way that you do, like, and that wraps up the show and it ends, right?
Yeah.
And that's a great way to execute a comedy routine, a stand-up.
Yeah.
They did that in the storytelling here, where the final act is entirely callbacks. Like a lot of them, like one-to-one verbal cues, like where they bring it right back to the thing, and or like role reversal cues. So
that's what struck me about it, was how dense with them it is. You know what I mean? And like in a way that doesn't feel gratuitous, it feels perfect. And that's why I use the word elegant, because it's like it was like they threw like 50 axes up in the air and then they caught all of them. You know what I mean?
100%. And I wrote a few of them down, which we'll get to like in a little bit. But like, I started writing them down because I was like, this is amazing that they called this back, and that they called that back, and they called this back. I was like, you know what? I don't even want to write this anymore. I'm really enjoying this again.
I know. I started writing them all down like just off the top of my head, because it was like, if I stop and do this, it's gonna take me 4 hours to watch the movie. Like, I was doing it from memory today after having watched the movie last night.
Yeah.
Just like. And there was a couple things where I was like, okay, like I remember that. Like, let me go back and look. And I was like, okay, you know, it doesn't matter, because as soon as I say the thing, even if we butcher and paraphrase it, like we're gonna know what we're talking about. That's it. Like rather than have to worry about copy and pasting everything word for word and finding every little scene and this and that. Because I feel like just you and me riffing on this organically is gonna feel more true to the movie, despite
100%
how tight the script is of the movie.
It is, and it's so good because there's like. I will say that, like, I vaguely remember feeling, I think actually Brian might have brought this up in our group chat of, like, it dragging on, or maybe he thought about that.
Yeah,
at
he's
Shaun
like,
of the Dead.
oh yeah, the movie was long. I didn't love it, and like it felt like it dragged. And I was like, what movie did you watch?
I do, and I remember vaguely feeling that way, but that's probably because of the times that I've had it on and I've not been paying attention. Because what could have easily dragged for me is the end, the final act of, like, everything coming down, because it seems like a very gratuitous action sequence, but it's not. There's tremendous writing in the
the writing,
which
and,
is
like,
what's so good
visual
about it.
cues and visual language.
Mhm.
Like, there's a lot of it. Like, that's honest to God, good movie making. Not just
That's what's impressive about it, right? Is,
yes.
like, it's for a comedy, it's far too well made. Like, yes. It's so good. It cracks me up that, like, I mean, it's laugh out loud funny when you're by yourself, and sometimes that can be hard to do. Like, that's usually I'll find myself smiling, but there's a handful of times where I blurted out laughter, and when you can do that, for me, like, you're killing it. The chemistry of Nick Frost and Simon Pegg is just, like, they are the two best friends that anyone could have. And they're just wonderful. And I think to bring in, like, this idea of, like, it's like Simon Pegg, his character is so he's actually fairly deep, right? Like, he's got this whole thing going on where he's a workaholic, and it's damaged his relationships in the past. He's clearly, like, has no life outside of the force, or of the service, I should say. And it affects him, and he's clearly struggling with it internally, right? Like, he's struggling with the fact that he knows he's addicted to being a cop, but he can't seem to help himself. And, and that has cost him in the past. And I think it's really funny that, like, the idea was they're kind of taking him out of they're taking him out of his current state because he's doing too good and making them look bad. And that might be the best thing for his personality, right? For him to come down from it. Even though the reasoning was ridiculous, it actually would have been helpful for him psychologically. And it ends up being that way. Like, the only character that can break him out of his funk is Nick Frost's ridiculousness.
Yeah, his own girlfriend that he seemed like he cared about an awful lot, like, couldn't get him to, and, like, even when he's trying to have a really heartfelt moment with her, he can't switch off, like,
right,
because he solves the crime.
You know that window's broken from the inside, right?
And it's great because she goes, meanwhile, everyone else in the room is like, oh my god, he cracked the case, like,
yeah. I like, it's so silly. The only thing outside of work that he focuses on is his plant.
His Japanese peace lily.
Which is just fantastic. Also, I mean, I know I'm jumping all over the place here, but as far as fantastic writing goes, Guy's face bashed in with a potted plant is on the floor in the apartment, and Nick Frost goes, "What happened to your peace lily?" So good. Oh man,
I love and again, like, just, like, thinking of, like, callbacks, like, just the way, like, they riff on the whole thing, right? Like, oh, have you ever fired a gun in the air while singing
no, I've never fired a gun in the air singing
Have you ever fired your gun in a high speed pursuit? Have you ever fired one gun while running, two guns, or jumping in the air, whatever it is, Well, did you say this, that, whatever, and then later when they're in the middle of the firefight, he goes, did you have, like, say anything cool? He goes, no. He goes, I didn't, but there was he goes, no, I didn't. He goes, there was a bit earlier, though, where before I hit him with the peace lily, where I showed him the cuddly monkey, and I said, playtime's over.
What did he say?
You're off the fucking chain.
Yeah, that's off the chain. Oh man, those little moments that they make in it are like that. They took the time to make that scene. It's, by all accounts, you're writing a script. Someone's reading the script. They'd be like, if they were cutting things, they'd be like, just, like, throw this. Like, there's no reason for this here, but it makes that scene. It makes the entirety of that scene inside of the shop with the shooting. It's fantastic. Starting off at the early part of the movie. So as we've talked about previously on maybe a few weeks back, we're going into the movies now.
Yeah.
we're in spoilers territory. Like, it doesn't. That's it. So
I love the great cameos right off the bat with Martin Freeman.
Oh.
It's Steve Coogan and then Bill Nighy. All three of them in a row.
Uh-huh.
Putting, and like super like friendly and nice and this and that. He goes, wait, are you telling me I'm too good at my job? Yes. You might as well look that. And then he goes, oh, you want to go upstairs? Okay. And then they do first quick cut phone call. Steve Coogan's there.
Yeah.
Tells them the same thing. Whatever. But you want to go even further? Yes, I think I have
the
to.
chief inspector.
You want to come all the way down here? Yes. And he just yells and he just opens the door and walks right through.
But the best that while that entire the entirety of that situation is hysterical because it's like we don't want to bother that person. Like, we call them into the room. The fact that each one of those conversations starts off with "How's the hen?" kills me.
Also, each time too, if you notice,
somebody else answers.
It's a little bit more perfunctory each time. He goes, "How is the hand, by the way?" He goes, "Oh, it's still a little stiff. Yeah, I bet. The next one, how's the hand? It hurts. Yeah. Then it's how's the hand? I imagine it hurts. It's just it's like out the door.
Yeah.
Next
well, it's like when the third person says "How's the hand?" the other two people in the room say it's still a little bit stiff. Oh man, so funny. I also love his style.
Before, it's the single most painful thing I've ever had experienced in my life. It's the second most.
I also love Edgar Wright's style with the quick cut. Like, that was a quick cut scene, right, where they showed you different people coming into the room. But even before that, like, the way that he does that thing where it's like doorknob, coffee cup, coffee going into the, like, there's something so satisfying and snappy about that execution.
It gets me every time when George Merchant's having the late night fry up and it's
beans, it's toast.
Wait, no, it's Grolsch bacon beans. Mm-hmm. Oh no, sorry, that was two separate ones because he grabs the Grolsch. It was Grolsch piss, and then it's when the killer gets him. It's pot, right? It's pan, beans, bacon, and
click. Yeah,
turn it on the
oh man, it's so good. And then so we send him off to this town, right? What is it? What is the award that it's won? However many years in a row?
The one is like England's best town or best village competition or whatever it is.
And again, jumping ahead, just the idea that when everything is going to shit, the judges are there. That one scene, that one completely throwaway scene, ties that whole thing up.
Which is great too, because you see all like the banners and the streamers up everywhere, and it's been on their mind the whole time, whatever. And then still, when you see the judges, at that point, like, you've totally forgotten about them.
Oh, 100%.
Total carnage going on. I was like, oh, right, that's today.
Oh, man. So we get to the town. I love how he's such a hard ass, right? He's like the whole, like, he's still like a tried and true, like, he's a cop, he's by the book. And I love that he arrests Nick Frost at like the first time meeting him. And the way that scene, that's another thing, right? That's like slapstick. That's Abbott and Costello, where he's like, oh God, he's escaped. He's escaped. And the person that he has put in the jail cell is actually his partner, and he is a cop. Is fantastic.
Well, and we should even like have an inkling that's coming right before that, right? Because he's talking to the night like sergeant, and
nobody tells me nothing.
He'll be no use to you until the morning. Don't worry, he'll still be here.
Yeah.
Because he knows. Because when you can see it perfectly too. Because when you're looking at Angel's like look at it, it's he's the town drunk. He's been locked up a million times. He gave him his favorite room. You know what I mean? They're on like first name terms, whatever. Like and then from the other side, it's well, duh. It's obvious he fucking works there. They all know him. Like, this is
Oh my goodness. So this is Hot Fuzz is the second entry of the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, or the Blood and Ice Cream trilogy. I did not understand. I didn't know the breakdown and the color scheme and how all that played out. Did you know about this? Do you know that this is the blue of the green, blue, and red?
Oh, I didn't know that, but I guess that makes sense.
All right. So the Shaun of the Dead is the red, and it's blood, and the ice cream that he eats is strawberry flavored.
Okay.
This one is blue, cops, blue, buddy cop comedy, and it is the classic cone, which is a blue wrapper.
Okay.
I haven't seen World's End, but World's End is the green, and apparently he eats the mint chocolate chip green cone.
So I'm not as familiar with that one because it's obviously much more recent, and it's a good movie. It's a much more somber movie, like underneath like the undertones of that movie. So I don't get the same joy from that movie as I do the other two.
Right.
I like it, but I've only seen that one maybe like 2 or 3 times.
Okay, yeah, I still haven't seen it, but like I never knew the reasoning behind the name and the breakdown of the colors and how that played into it. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I didn't know the further like depths of it, but I knew that it was referring.
Yeah, so that's cool. So Angle makes his way to the town where he meets everybody. Right, we get introduced to all these characters. Our first introduction, what's his name? Timothy James Bond. Dalton, thank you. Our first introduction to him, where he's running alongside of Simon Pegg's character, and what does he say? He's like,
"I'm a slasher. I must be stopped."
Right, or my prices are criminal, or something like
that. He goes, "I'm a madman. I must be stopped." What? He goes, "I'm a slasher of prices." My deals are criminal.
That's right. That whole thing, I love that setup too, because even that is like a very blatant call that eventually we're gonna cash in on, where he is one. He is not just the guy; he's one of them. But
also very subtle, bringing in the running thing.
Yeah.
Off the bat.
100%. Very good. Well executed. I love how frustrated
is so great in this movie.
He is
a tremendous villain.
A couple of reasons why. One, that sequence in the beginning, fantastic. The first time we introduced him. Second, when he's frustrated, his little his snide remark at the traffic accident, great. Third, maybe the best scene of his in the movie. Oh, it really hurts.
Honestly, that scene makes me physically uncomfortable.
100%. I can't watch it at all. It's terrible.
But some of his like what you're talking about with never was there a tale of more tragedy and woe than that of Juliet and her Romeo. The way he delivers that whole line is
and why did you kill him? He murdered Bill Shakespeare. What? Oh.
And what about what's her name? Because I forget those two names for whatever reason. I don't remember why. She had the most detestable, most horrid laugh.
Yeah,
horrid.
The great
I
horrid.
love it, the chance, the wonderful.
Yeah, the greater good. This is one particular joke that I never noticed before. The cop that speaks in like almost like a gibberish. There are 2 lines when there's sexual jokes made. One of them was he just goes, tits. Yeah. And the other time he goes, dicks.
Cocks.
Sorry.
It's funny. I was talking about that the other night at dinner when I was saying I was going to watch a movie, because my family all loves their movies. They love that movie in particular. And I was saying how it took me a long time to realize that's what was going on there, because so much of what he says is so hard to understand. Like over time, most of even the gibberish he's saying.
Yeah,
if you watch it enough times, if you listen closely enough, or whatever. But it was those. I guess for whatever reason, they never really registered for me, and that was probably came down to, again, like you were saying, like not paying full attention on rewatches.
Sure.
But I don't remember what. Well, maybe a year or 2 ago, I was watching it, and it finally clicked for me that that's what's happening there, because she says something about being top heavy, and he goes, tits.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I was like, how did I never realize that's what he was doing that whole time? And then. They were talking about like the late night fry up or whatever that George Merchant has before the house explodes, and she goes, "Oh, I don't know, I like a bit of a midnight gobble," and he goes, "Cocks."
That's right. Oh man, it's so good. It cracks me up. I also love that shtick of like Angel doesn't know what that character is ever saying until the end when they're all starting to get on the same page, and he goes, "He said whatever," and he goes, "I know."
Also, if you want to go with other obscure joke setups, or like, kind of like call and answer in this that I really enjoy, is someone throwing the garbage can from off screen off someone's head.
What is that?
I don't know, but it happens the first time they go in to see the Andes, and they walk out, and and Danny says something about them, and one of them, he goes, "Oh, fuck off,"
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, the same thing when everyone's finally all friends, even the Andes, right after they've got all their collars or whatever. And, I forget what he says or whatever. And he goes, "Oh, you cheeky fucker!"
Yeah,
and they all have a laugh.
That was great. I also like at the end when Nick Frost's character makes someone says policeman and he corrects them, and it says actually, and it goes to the whole thing. But then Angel's character makes like the dirty joke afterwards, yes. Like that the way that they tie it up, where he's like now a member of the community is just so good. I love the Andes.
Yes,
they might be my favorite characters, even though everybody else is fantastic. They crack me up for some reason. There's just something about their delivery. I think one of my favorite scenes is we obviously there's the swear box, which is great. Right, but that one
Leslie
scene...
Tiller was fucking murdered! Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Danny.
What is it with you and all the fucking murder? Thank you, Andy.
Yeah. That's it. That's like the other person paying the swear box for them so that they can continue is and the politeness of thanking them. There's something super charming about the writing of that interaction. And like that's like one of those things where I feel like written down, it was probably really funny. Like it was a really funny concept. But those characters and their chemistry, they pulled it off without skipping a beat. Like it's so well executed. It cracks me up.
I don't know why.
Thank you, Andy.
That scene kicks off with him just screaming, "Leslie Tiller was fucking murdered." It's like, oh,
yeah. But what does he say? He goes through this whole thing. It's like. But that was an accident. Really? Fuck no.
So let me get this straight. You think that this one and that one were murdered? Yes. And George Merchant was murdered? Yes. And whatever was murdered? Yes. Leslie Tiller? No, actually. Really? Of course he fucking was.
Oh man. So I'm jumping around the movie a lot here. I do like the idea, the whole thing about the another callback, the journalist for that paper that they have, who with the terrible spelling errors, and that's the reason they killed him. Is just the mistakes that he made was one of he had to go.
Yeah. I love what's so great about all of that is he has all of these things, why, this one was spilling secrets to that one, and that one was telling George Merchant. George Merchant was buying up all the property, and the journalist was the one who was digging into all of this and finding out that they were ruining the town, and this and that. And each one of them is like, because all justifiable reasons why this cabal would be killing those people if they were choosing to do this, to silence all dissent and quash all, extraneous activity and make sure that the village is perfect, right?
Right.
You would say, oh wow, it would make sense for them to kill that person. Just the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? And his litany of spelling errors and his tabloid journalism brought down the Sanford Daily or whatever it is, right? He goes, what? And, the hard laugh. His mansion was hardly in keeping with the town's rustic aesthetic. Leslie Tiller was a saint, one of us, but she betrayed us, sold her land. We couldn't let her lending her green thumb to those Beaufort Abbey. If we can't have her, no one can.
The greater good. Oh man, it's so fun. I loved Nick Frost. His character understanding what's going on, and then the twist of him grabbing Angel's arm, and he'd be like, "Oh no, not you too," and then stabbing him in the book that he gave him earlier. Another great setup. That's a thing that happens time and again. Somebody put something in their shirt and gets shot there, right? But he put it there and he stabbed him there. That whole thing, and then the ketchup packet, which is another callback when he opens it. Ta-da! He's playing Judge, Jury, and Executioner. He's not Judge, Judy, and Executioner.
I love too. He goes. He disappeared them. He goes. He's going to disappear you too. He goes. I'll bring down the whole. He can disappear all of them. He's going to disappear the whole police force from.
That's right.
Which there has to be jurisdictional issues there.
Sure.
I like while we're talking about that castle scene though. That's also another one where like just talking about like the density of the callbacks because there was all those little lines throughout the right. He says, we'll be up to our knees in dog muck and crusty jugglers before we know it. The living statue is a blight on our town. The hoodies with their graffiti. Your predecessor had a great big bushy beard. We can't have
a great big bushy beard.
And then when he falls through the ground and he sees that's where they're hiding all the dead bodies, and you see each one and they flash each of those lines. There's like, wow, some of those seemed kind of like a one-off, or some of them like a one-off line or a joke or just background or whatever. And it's wow, all of that's come back here.
Yep, that, and the best part about that is the statue in pose dead. It's
with like
great.
a little like thin line of blood like coming out of his mouth or something like that.
It's great.
I couldn't believe they killed Filch just for having the guns and clipping the hedges. Also, that was great too, where he's doing the extra gibberish, and then Walker is doing the kind of gibberish.
Oh yeah, the triple translation. So funny. And then the last one where he says one word. And
Pose. Yeah, I suppose. Yes, pose.
I love how it goes from it's super comedic to super conspiracy to straight up crazy violent.
Yes.
Each
act is kind of its own separate genre.
Right. It's perfect. But the way that all starts off with like the first person and an angel, she shoots the old lady shoots at him with the shotgun, and as she's reloading, he's running towards her. The fact that the way that is cut with him actually jumping over the fence and kicking her square in the face. What is it about something like that is super comical?
It's just pure shock value, right?
I guess.
Wow, he kicked that 70-year-old woman with a flying kick in the head,
Yeah, and she's not passed out or anything. She's just mad about it, like that.
Although they even kind of hinted at it right before that, right when he creams the telephone pole when he's trying to call the rest of the town to let them know that he's coming. Mm-hmm. But also within that whole sequence, there's two other great callbacks. So there's progression because there's the Swan, right?
Sure.
So it's him trying to settle into his job. Everyone's laughing at him. He doesn't like it. He feels like he's totally out of place, which we already knew. Plus, like totally out of place in the sense that like no one even seems to follow the rules. He gets a phone call. I'd like to report that the Swan's missing. Swan's missing. He goes, "Can I ask who's calling?" Yes, it's Mr. Staker. Peter Iron Staker. He goes, "All right, Mr. Staker. P.I. Staker. Piss Taker, come on!" And they cut immediately to him taking the description. When it's, what's his name too? Was it Stephen
Merchant? Yeah.
It's such a. Could you describe it, please? Orange beak, long slender neck. It's a swan.
He cracks me up now anytime I see him because I think of his scene in Jojo Rabbit. What did I miss? Well, we hired each other, and then we hired him, and then now you're here.
But to go from that progression, right? Because then they're hunting the swan, right? They can't catch the swan. Then he's honking at the swan to try to get it. The swan attacks him.
That's not going to work.
And then, we get 10 minutes, and then they're chasing down the guy in the store, and then there's the swan. Can't catch the swan again. Then they finally chase it down at the end, and they pull over. It almost causes car crashes, right? They throw it in the van, right? So we get that like whole genesis of that thing from beginning to end of the movie, like tying up in that. Then there's the one with all of, like the Night's Watch Association and all that.
Well, no, but not only do they get at the very, very end, he's reunited with the swan.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It does come full circle. It's long, slender neck. It's a swan.
And in the middle of all that, right? It's no catching them swans. Then it's just the one swan actually. But in that scene, you hear on the radio very obviously after they've already gotten in the shop. Guess who's coming into your shop? It's that Nicholas Angel. Get a look at his arse.
Yeah.
Then we take it over to the side, right? We have that whole thing, right? And then when they come back into town for the fight, it's look who's coming into town. It's Sergeant Angel. Look at his horse.
Yeah.
But even before that, they had when he makes the connection when they're doing the investigation, and he's been embarrassed looking for Timothy Dalton, right?
Yep.
Well, it's one killer. No luck catching them killers, then. No luck catching them killers, then.
Yeah.
And it's just like rattling around in his brain, and all those like the pitch perfect, exact same delivery of the killers and the swan and all that, and like to see that whole like so many disparate little things that are tied together so centrally into one. Like the whole movie is that.
Yeah. It's so good. The on it. So talking about all these tie-ups that they do. A thing that doesn't seem like a joke until it pays off is the sign on the door of the shop that says one student at a time. And every time the shop door opens, it dings. And when they have the students all run through at the same time, they take the time to actually make the sound effect ding, 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 ding as they're running through the door. And I was like, this is really throwaway, really stupid, yet so perfect.
Also, based on the way that scene is shot and cut and like the audio of it all, that woman was defeated purely by the amount of kids in the store, right? Like they don't even do anything to her.
No.
It's just their mere presence in there altogether.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
The beeping over and over again that has driven her to insanity, right?
I do love, after that we get the callback, fascist! Hag. And then
she does such a great job of that too, Fascism. Oh, fascism.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Lovely. The follow-up of the priest trying to talk Angel down. You're not a man of God, but surely you're a man of peace. And then shooting at him when the gun goes off and blows his toes off, and he just goes, Jesus Christ!
I think I mentioned this a couple of months ago. So that guy is Belloc in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right, you did mention that.
And also, I was scrolling through. He was also Ivan Ooze in the Power Rangers movie. That one I didn't.
Wow.
That I never would have got just because of the amount of prosthetics and makeup that was on his face.
Oh man, I love that movie.
So trust me, me and my brother, I think both at different stages in our childhood used to watch that movie like every day. When you were like 5 years old and you watched the same movie every day.
Yeah, I remember vividly watching The Phantom Menace over and over again.
Yeah,
that was later.
You saying something like that. You were like 11 at that point, probably.
Yeah, oh man, I bought that movie at Saturday matinee. I still have that copy of that Power Rangers movie, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, I think it was called, and it is at my parents' house, and it's in a cabinet that was specifically designed to hold VHS tapes. And it's one of the ones that doesn't really fit anywhere because it's in one of those garbage, gigantic bubble boxes. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Oh, I know. And I know in that specific one, it was a white one. It was
that's right.
It was a white container with the wrap on it and all.
Yep. What the hell was that about? It was like 16 times larger than the VHS tape inside.
Because I think they wanted to look like a book.
Oh. All right. It's a little bookshelf action.
Yeah.
All right. That's kind of.
The shelves were designed for only the tape, which doesn't make sense to me because you never bought just the tape. Like
that's right.
Bare minimum, it had the cardboard sleeve.
Right. It's very stupid.
But the plastic bubble thing was a very common thing, especially if you ever owned, say, like a Disney movie.
That's right.
They
all had it. Yep. Ugh. How infuriating. Man, I kind of miss VHS tapes. Something wonderful about them. Anyway, back to the movie. What are you thinking? Pub. But that switch callback, and then so those were two lines that got reversed at the end of the movie. Is what are you thinking, pub? And it's like the opposite characters asking that, and then also want anything from the shop. That got me. Yeah,
you've already been to the shop. Wasn't talking about that shop. What shop were you talking about? The other shop. Then they go to the grocery store.
I love when they're in the shop earlier and he's reading the descriptions of the movies, and he's like, you can see how excited he is about it. It's so great.
Time Cop. Meet the cop that can't be stopped.
Oh man. Oh, very good. Oh, the very good what he said callback. So when what's the cop that like Angel always gives like the rundown of what they're gonna do, and then
it
other
was
cop,
the sergeant, whatever, I forget his name, Popper or something like that. Or?
something. He's like very good what he said, and then like at the end when they're gonna raid the shop, and he has the perfect plan, and Angel goes, very good what he said.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's so well done.
That whole raid was great because they had all like the different little aspects to it. Because there's the two butchers throwing an endless supply of knives.
Oh yeah,
which
great.
was really incredible. Like much better, like more tense scene than it really should have been. Considering they all had guns and riot gear, and these two guys just had a curved glass case to stand behind and all of the sharp butcher knives.
That's right. I love it. Running the carts into it ends the battle.
Yes, but before that though, one of them hits the bottle of tomato sauce. And splashes all over. He's screaming, "Andy!"
Yeah, it's just ragu.
It's bolognese.
Oh, bolognese. Yeah. Oh man.
There's the scene with the secretary, the bitchy secretary. She charges her. She smacks her with the wet side. And she goes, "How's that for a bit of girl on girl action?" And
they all laugh.
Big laugh.
Yeah. So actually another one when Angel knocks out Clegane. What's his name? That blows my mind every time I see it.
That's Rory McCann.
That's the Hound. Yeah, when he knocks him out and he's answering on the radio, he goes yarp,
yarp,
yarp, narp. That's perfect. But my favorite line, I forgot about this until I luckily it's the last one in my notes here. But potentially, the entire movie is crazy, right? And it escalates and it gets more and more out of hand. By the end of it, it's so ridiculous that when Timothy Dalton's head is on the spike and all that, and then Jim Broadbent comes in again, and he's got Nick Frost with the gun to his head. And Simon Pegg goes, "Pack it in, Frank, you silly bastard." He's just like had enough at this point.
I want to talk about Jim Broadbent some because I love him, and we haven't really talked about him in this too much. But before we get to that, another one of these, like, how did they call that back? When they were talking about, someone must have seen, known the victim or whatever. He goes, everyone knows everyone in this town. He goes, want us to go through the phone book all the way? We'll start with Aaron A. Aronson. And they have that whole sequence at the end, and the kid helps him out and bites Timothy Dalton, right? And he goes, "It's a good job, kid. What's your name?" He goes, "Aaron Aronson."
What? And he looks back at him.
Yeah. But I already said earlier before we did the movie part of it, right in the beginning, someone's been, trimming, what's his name's hedge clippings? Or so his hedgerows? Answer. That's it.
Yeah.
That delivery.
It's him. It's like to a T. Like he's. I feel like he's the only person that could deliver it that way.
There's so many other stupid little things though in that movie. What? Yeah. Oh, would you like some cake? Whatever. No, sir. By the way, what is with the chocolate cake? Oh, that's just about one of the gâteau is because of one of Danny's little indiscretions. He goes, I wouldn't say that a DWI is a little indiscretion. He goes, oh, no. The gâteau is not for that. It's for him leaving his helmet around somewhere. He goes, no, for this, I'm sorry. It's something that would have to be much more seriously dealt with. Are you a fan of Chunky Monkey? What, sir? Well, let's just say the office is not going to be in very short supply for the next month.
Yeah. But then Nick Frost goes,
because I'm dead.
Oh, my goodness. So, pack it in, Frank, you silly bastard.
But it's great, too, because before we find out he's a villain, like, sure, he's, like, funny, and he's, kind of, like, happy-go-lucky, and, maybe head in the clouds a little bit. But you see, like, moments, too, where, like, in the church scene, after the reporter gets killed, and he's like, are you saying this is a crime scene? And then he turns it on.
Snaps into action.
You get a cordon off. You interview all the witnesses. You guys. And it's like, oh, okay. Like he's about his business when he's got to be like. Yeah. And then you can see when he's he seems to be when Angel is kind of losing it because the conspiracy is like threatening to break his brain. He's like compassionate and like really tries to talk him down off the ledge. Like, and if it wasn't so like evil what he's actually doing, you'd have like a moment there where it's like, oh wow, he really cares about this guy. He sees like he wants to believe, but there's not enough evidence, and this is just him being a cop. And hey, listen, you're going to drive yourself crazy because I think you're trying to prove yourself and all this, and like it was very empathetic, and it's like wow, like this is like it's a real person, It's no, he's a cartoonish villain actually.
So funny. It's really and that's the thing, right? Like there's so much depth for a movie that doesn't necessarily need to have it, but it ends up becoming a movie that is both a tremendous comedy and a actually like really well made film. And that's the thing that I think is really funny about like buddy cop movies, right? You get a movie like Rush Hour, which leans heavily into the comedic side of it, right? Like the twists, not that I feel like any movie, if you're watching a movie, if you've watched movies before, you see the twist coming, right? It's not that big of a deal. It's really more about the humor and the comedy in it. Then there's Lethal Weapon, which is like a relatively good drama with a good amount of levity through the interactions between the characters, but it leans heavily into the drama side. This movie is masquerading around as the former, but it's got a strong script. Like the actual story, while a little bit outlandish, is well written, and the whole idea of like bringing in a conspiracy into this it's fantastic. It's so good. And it makes me want to watch the other ones again. I haven't seen Shaun of the Dead in a long time, and it's in a similar boat where like I watched it once through a long time ago, and then maybe I've seen bits and pieces of it throughout the years, but I have not sat down to rewatch it in a very long time.
I don't remember how I first stumbled on Shaun of the Dead, but I know I saw it before Hot Fuzz, because I saw Hot Fuzz in the theaters with a couple of my buddies in high school. I've seen both those movies a million times since, though. I think I've mentioned in the past the classic Saturday morning brunch that we have. Like, not that it's like a formal brunch, just the fact that we all get together and have like a big breakfast on a lot of Saturday mornings. Shaun of the Dead has been one of those. It's been my cousin Vinny, Shaun of the Dead. Those have been two classic mainstays over the past 15 years. Yeah, of just thing to throw on during or right after like our Saturday morning, like lazy like breakfast brunch or whatever around the house. I saw Shaun of the Dead on a Saturday morning like 3 weeks ago, so it's always kind of fresh in my mind. I would have to go back and see World's End again just to like get the details like firm in my mind. Like I remember like the big picture, like and some of the little funny things that happen in it, but I don't have the same working knowledge of the other two movies that I have with that one. Yeah. Or sorry, I phrased that backwards, but you know what I meant.
But no, that's we'll get those in here eventually.
But it was perfect doing this the week after Point Break.
Oh yeah, so good. That I love that he gets to actually shoot his gun up in the air and go R.
Yeah, he's not a pirate.
No, I never shot a gun up in the air and got R. Oh, one last note that I forgot to cover: the reveal that the desk clerk is twins.
Oh yeah,
great.
Nobody tells me nothing.
Well, very well executed. I also think it's very funny that guy looks like your father, and your father says that line a lot.
He does look a little bit like him. I guess I never really made that connection. That's funny.
More, in particular, the crazy one, and when your father's in diplomatic immunity in mode.
The voice, the way he says, "Nobody tells me nothing," is very similar to when he's talking about how he has diplomatic immunity. You're right.
No.
I was just thinking though, it wasn't actually having to do with that character, but he was right around it. When they use it twice in quick succession, right? When he says, "I'm sorry, we can't accept gifts from people that we've formally rebuked," and he goes, "Oh, yeah."
So good. All right. Well, you got anything else on this? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, we missed one classic bit from the Andes when they come in, when the two of them are like talking. I forget which, I think it's one of the crime scenes. He goes, "Oh, if it isn't Constable Fanny Butterbum, Sergeant Nicholas R. Swipe." And Danny goes, "Oh, that's us."
I love it. Well, That's all for this week's episode of Flix and a Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixandasix@thespintune.com or tweet us at thespintune. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Bielsi.
Thanks for coming out.